In this video, we're going to be looking at Necromunda Hive Secundus, the new box set for Necromunda. Hello everybody and welcome. It's Necromunda time. I call it Necromunda, some people call it Necromunda, but you know, I'm going to stick with what I think is right. This is the new box set. It's called Hive Secundus and it was announced just a little while ago. Here it is. I'm very lucky to get a copy from Games Workshop. They sent this to me for free, but my opinions are my own and I'm not charging for these videos. So, you know, you're always getting my own unvarnished opinion without any corporate interference. So what we're going to do in this video is check out what you get in this new box. Have a look at the miniatures once I've built them and go through the rules, and you'll be able to make an informed decision about whether you want to grab this new box set or not. So let's get started. Okay, here we are, the new box set. Now, before I get started, I am going to complain. Yes, I'm sorry, but I've just got to whinge. I don't like these flimsy boxes. These are very expensive sets and they, you know, they're hundreds of dollars and we're getting these flimsy boxes. I mean, it's good they don't put shrink wrap on them anymore. I realize that's environmentally good, but these come just as is with these little stickers on the sides to hold the box together. Now, these stickers are actually quite strong, so it's kind of very hard to get them off the box, which really irritates me because I don't want stickers on the sides of my box. I want to take them off. So if you're going to have a sticker holding the box together, Games Workshop, you've got to have one that I can get off relatively easily without damaging my box. I know a lot of people don't bother to keep these boxes. I really do. And I protect my stuff with them. So it's very irritating to have such a premium product and have such a flimsy box. You can see here it's bulged out a bit at the top where it's, you know, been slammed on top of the stuff. So it's already a little bit damaged. I'm just not happy they're not bringing out good solid boxes anymore. I know they're saving money off their bottom line by doing that, but I think it's unacceptable. Fix the boxes, Games Workshop. We want good quality boxes, please. Right, now I've got that out of the way. We've got, you know, pretty spectacular cover. Very colourful in a sort of, you know, teal kind of way. Now, Hive Secundus is again, I'm saying Hive Secundus instead of Hive Secundus. I don't know, I just like the you know, Necromunda sound and the Secundus sound. I think is it more accurate? I don't know. I don't care. So Hive Secundus is another hive on the planet of Necromunda where nothing's good. It's a horrible place to be, let's face it. And this was a really nice place to be briefly, but then some idiot decided to do a bit of unsanctioned gene stealer research there, and you can imagine how that turned out. Not very well at all. So now it's been carpet bombed, and it's just a ruin, but of course there are disgusting twisted gene stealer hybrid things in there. Not hybrids, they're malformed gene stealers. Even the Tyranids don't like them, they're so horrible. And against them we've got the Van Sars, who are a faction right from the early days. They've of course been very much updated, and they're going in to, you know, prove their worth and get tech and do all that kind of stuff and fight these horrible malformed gene stealers. So that's the basic premise of the set. We'll go into more detail when we look at the book. Of course, get your old Necromunda sprue of templates. This one's been around for a long, long time. Hasn't changed at all. First appeared for Warhammer 40,000 years and years ago. They haven't updated it. Can you imagine how many of these they've churned out over the years? We've got some sprues. There's a Gene Stealer sprue. There's another Gene Stealer sprue. That looks the same, I think. Yes, it is. So there's two sprues the same there. That looks like your Van Sar stuff. That's another Van Sar, hard to say. That's another Van Sar one. They're the same as well. We've got another Van Sar sprue and another one here, and they look the same as well. So there you go. You've got two Gene Stealers. Two of those are the same for Van Sars. This is an extra. I think these ones are for the Spirers, who are special characters. We'll get to those in a moment. And then two more of the little ones. Enough to have a couple of gangs. You've got one sheet of terrain, one sprue of terrain. Nothing new here. They're just bulkheads and doors. So we're not really getting anything new or exciting there. Here's our sheet, of course, that protects what's going on. There's the gazillion Necromunda products you can get these days. Look at them all. I really don't like the way that they do Necromunda with all these books, because the books, let's face it, are 20% useful gaming information and 80% fluff. And they're very expensive here in New Zealand because they're hardcover books and they cost a lot. So the whole way that Necromunda is released, I find very frustrating. I bought a couple of vehicles for Necromunda Ash Wastes a while back, and I still don't have the rules for them because I have to buy a full hardcover rule book just to get the rules, because the rules for those vehicles are in that book. It's frustrating. It's not friendly. Anyway, we're stuck with it. There's our bases. As usual, they're the really nice textured ones, so they're lovely. And then we've got the way, I don't know, the way they're packing things now. It seems very slipshod. Look at that. There's a loose piece that's fallen off a sprue there. So that's got to watch that. And look at this. Here are my flight stands just thrown into the bottom here. There's bits of loose sprue. I mean, guys, what's going on here? Bit of quality, please. We're paying a lot of money for this. This is unacceptable. It's just being thrown in the bottom. You know, and the only way they protect things now is put a bit of cheap wrapping paper around the top, and you can see it's broken there, so the edge of the book could easily get damaged. This is not good enough. It's not good enough. I'm getting a bit annoyed here because this is a premium product. They're not lowering the prices, but they're making the packaging less quality and obviously getting a bigger cut for themselves. You've got to do better. So in this, oh, look at these lovely dice. Oh, wow. Oh, I love the color of these. That's beautiful. Oh, okay. Right, all that negativity, something good. Love the dice. Really nice. Now, we've got, put into here, here's our cards. You know, we've got the usual unit cards here that they come with. I wish these unit cards had pictures of them on them so you could identify the miniatures. Fortunately, they don't do that. I suppose because you can customize your miniatures, so you know you're not stuck with a particular look. But you know it'd be quite handy. I think it'd be pretty handy. Lots of blank ones as well, and then of course you've got all the sort of there's territories cards, Archaeo loot, lots of Archaeo loot. So reference cards, that's good. Another one of these plastic things that nobody ever uses, I'm sure. Hive Secundus. This must be, yes, this is our instruction manual for putting it all together, of course. There you go. That'll be tricky. I have to work out which variants I use, all the pieces. And then, what's this? There we go. Oh, this is our map. Now, I'm going to complain again. I'm sorry, I'm going to complain again. Paper mats. I mean, what? Come on. Paper? This could quite easily be a board. Instead, we get paper. You know, it looks nice. It's just a slightly recoloured and redone version of the old Necromunda Underhive maps, probably. But, you know, paper. I don't think it's good enough for the price that they're charging. I think that these should be the hard board maps that we get with Kill Team and all the others. Why are we just getting paper ones? You know, gee, I'm a bit negative this time around, aren't I? But I love Necromunda, but I just don't think it's been given the attention it should. So we've got a hardcover book. What are we going in here? Here's a hardcover book. So, oh no, it's not hardcover. I tell a lie. It's perfect bound soft cover. So we don't even get a hardcover book. Gee, they're really cutting corners in this one. It's quite incredible. The usual sheet of counters, nothing new there. Same old sheet. And we've got a reference sheet as well. Or two reference sheets, I should say. So nothing new there as well. Let's have a look through this book. Very much the teal green colour scheme for all of this, which is nice. Keeps it in a nice theme. This packaging. Anyway, we'll get back to it. Let's have a look at the book and see what you get in the new rule book for Necromunda Hive Secundus. Let's have a little flip through the book now. Rule book. It's a decent size. You can see it's pretty big. what is that, 175 pages or so, packed full of stuff. Now, of course, you've got the full rules in here again, so you could call this whole set a starter set because it, it does have the full rules. When I say full rules, of course, not including the vehicle rules from Ash Wastes. This isn't in here at all, which is a shame. But it does very much focus here on Hive Secundus, which is, the ruined crater and the ruins in the middle, and this area of the Ash Wastes. Here are the Oris Spires, and of course you've got all your background information and the description of this horrific area, and the Malstrain gene stealers and all that stuff, the Patriarch, why for some reason they're going into this horrific place, and here's your contents. Now, if you did get the original new version of Necromunda, which was under Hive, you can see it's a very similar kind of setup, very much a focus on the 2D setups, a little bit of terrain, but mostly the 2D playmats. And then we go through the rules spread out with lots of filler like this. I know it looks nice and everything, but gee, general principles. We need a double-page spread to tell us that it's the general principles. Do we? No. Kind of feels like filler to me. So there's your really basic stuff. Okay, terrain, dice and everything, conditions, fighter status, conditions. Bang, another double-page spread because now we're going to tell you about gang fighters and their weaponry. There's, as usual these days with Games Workshop text, a lot of filler in these rules, and I just feel, you could just sort of cut it down to shorter stuff. But it's all about the atmosphere, I guess. Some people love this kind of stuff. I just think that the rules could be summarised, because I'm used to summarising rules in a much shorter and more succinct form. But anyway, you've got all the stuff about hiring your gang and setting up your gang roster and all that kind of thing. Then finally we're into the rules. And here they are. And really, as far as I can tell, nothing's changed from the last version of Necromunda. It all seems the same kind of stuff. It really is starting to feel a bit clunky these days, especially with games like Kill Team and Warcry on offer. Necromunda is quite old school, very fiddly, lots and lots of different actions. It's got the whole roll to wound, roll to hit, roll to wound, roll to save system. So, they haven't done a whole lot to sort of bring Necromunda into the modern age, unfortunately. But that's part of its charm, I suppose. I'm starting to feel, as much as I love Necromunda and I played it for a long time and really enjoy it, it's starting to feel a bit creaky around the edges when you play something that like Kill Team, which is, a bit snappier. But anyway, if you feel like this kind of thing, it's got detail absolutely galore, especially when you get into those vehicle rules. They're so fiddly and lots of tables and extra stuff. It does really feel like a bit of a throwback to the old days of rules. We've got Psychers. I don't think we had Psychers in the last rulebook, so there's a little bit on Psychers. It's very easy. They're just powers, basically, which you can use. There's a chance you could annoy the warp and have a kind of negative effect as well. You can try and cancel a psychic power if with your own psychic guy if you roll there on psychic duels. And then there's a few weird powers of different types here, which are your psychic powers. So pretty straightforward, just like spells, really. Then we've got the Underhells campaign. So this is a 2-player campaign. One of them, well, they say that you need an arbitrator and one of the players has to be the arbitrator, or a third player can be the arbitrator. I don't know if that's necessary. You can do this stuff together. It's really just, helping them to create gangs, keeping track of the gang's progress. You only have to keep track of the Secundian Incursion gang. This is the Van Saar and Oris Spire and those guys, because they progress, whereas the Malstrain Gene Stealers and the Brood Scum don't really progress at all. So really only one of the players is going to be doing progression of their gang and doing all that stuff. So there's a simplified post-battle sequence. You don't need these steps. And it takes you through a campaign of basically going down through different levels of the Underhive until you eventually get to the throne room and have the final battle. So you're talking, these are all cycles. Each one is pretty much a game, which they sort of think is going to be once a week. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're talking 8 weeks. If you played once a week, for example, 8 games, which is quite a commitment. You know, it's hard to find that much time to play one game, but I'm sure it'd be satisfying to play such a sequence of games. You'd really get to know these particular gangs and get to know their particular strategies. So it could be quite satisfying. Got different territories, of course, and these are based on the levels, how deep you get into the Underhive. So it does have a bit of a dungeon delving setup. One thing I wanted to mention is these big sort of illustrative, iconographic kind of things for pages. This took me right back to an artist called Wayne England, who sadly is no longer with us, but was quite an influential artist in the early days of Games Workshop. And he was definitely the one who came up with this idea of these big illustrated icons to mark sections of books and things like that. So yeah, Wayne England, Google him and look at his artwork. It's some really lovely stuff. He did more sort of fantasy stuff, but he did some Warhammer 40,000 stuff as well. A great Games Workshop artist. Stuff about the battlefield. This is all basic stuff, which is your selection of your gangs and how they're deployed. And you can have stuff we've had before. You can have sentries at the start of the game. You can have visibility rules, stuff like that. And then we get on to the different scenarios. And again, you've got these data crystal things, which will be in a lot of the games. They're available as a separate terrain set. Really wish they'd been in this set. I think it would have been a nice thing to do. Here they are here. They're not the most attractive terrain pieces, really, but fortunately they're a separate thing. So if you don't want them, or if you want them to be more than just printed on the paper mat, you have to go out and buy those. And also, you could go out and get this sort of melted looking terrain. I'm not going to bother. I'm happy with the terrain that I've already got. It feels like not a very interesting progression on terrain, just taking the existing terrain and sort of melting it and destroying it a bit. Feels a little bit lame to me, but that's what we've got. So here are the different games and, interesting things if you want to go through the campaign. Then we get into the gang composition. This is the Secundian Incursion gang, so information about that. Now, of course, there is a whole separate hardcover book which covers all this as well. And it covers more general stuff. It's not this Underhills campaign. It's more general campaign stuff about using Hive Secundus and everything. Really does feel like we're spreading too much over too little bread. No, what's the expression? Too little butter over too much bread, it is. Yeah, they're really dragging it out because you've got this starter set, you've got the hardcover book, you've got the terrain set, you've got the separate data crystal terrain set. Anyway, that's how they make them these days, I'm afraid. So here are our figures, of course, which I'm about to show you, but these are the painted versions. You've got your Brood Scum, your Maelstrom, Gene Stealers, Terramites, and then we've got these guys. So here are your Van Sark characters, your Techie guys, and your Oris Spire Hunters, these two very tech-looking power suit guys. And that's about it. You've got extra stuff. Again, weapon traits and all kinds of effects and personal equipment. It all feels like it's scattered over so many books these days. It's a little bit hard to keep track of, but anyway, that'll keep you busy for a long time. There's skills in there as well. That's the book. Okay, let's have a look at the miniatures in Hive Secundus. Now, I'll start off just with the bases, which are these Necromunda design we've seen for a while now. And what I do with these bases is that I paint them all in one go, and I find it easier this way. I stick them all on a stick, undercoat them in black, dry brush them with some lead belcher, then a very light dry brush with some Stormhost silver. And then after that, I give them a wash with Agrax Earthshade. And after that's dry, I get some watered down Scrag Brown to paint in some of that rust. And you can actually scrumble that on the top and then wipe it off with a finger so it just stays in the recesses. And you can get a nice sort of rusty metal effect. That's a nice fast way to get your bases done. Now you might be asking, well, how do I paint the figures once the bases are done? I usually just sort of paint around the feet area after I've primed the figures separately. Paint around the feet area, and then I'll super glue them to the bases, and then I can paint the rest of the figure, just being careful that I don't put too much paint on the base as I do so. But this is much easier to paint them this way because they're all done in one go. And of course, this being the Underhive, they can be sort of messy with junk on them, and you can put on extra bits of gravel and any other bits from your bits box if you want to make them a bit more interesting. But yeah, they look good like this. Now you get this terrain sprue, and it's got your classic walls and doors like this. As you can see, I've roughly painted them in the same way I've painted the bases. Just with that. There's also a little bit of weathering powder on the bottom of these to give that kind of dusty, dirty look. There you go. Now, I find it a little bit disappointing we're just seeing the same old terrain sprue in here. I think this would have been a good opportunity to introduce something from the new terrain set for Hive Secundus, because it's got sort of melted, half-destroyed terrain in that separate set. There's also I forget what they're called, data crystal things, which you can buy as another separate set again. And there are two of them. They're used in all the scenarios, or in most of the scenarios, and they're actually printed on the paper mat. And I think including those in this set would have been a nice little extra and given the set a bit more distinctiveness. As it is, we've just got these, which we've seen before, and you know, I've got quite a few of now. Next up, we've got the figures. We'll start with the Horrors of Secundus, and these are the Malstrain Gene Stealers. Now, I've just blue tacked these onto my painted bases just to show you, but later on I'll take them off, and as I said, I'll do some of that painting, maybe just a base coat, and then stick them on the bases to do the detail work. But these Gene Stealers are rather nice. They're Gene Stealers, but they've been mutated in all kinds of horrible ways, and they've all got sort of extra fingers and limbs and strange bits of coral-like growth on them. You know, they've got a lot of personality. Very, very spiky, as you can see. That's probably should be down like that. There we go. Big tongues. These mutated Gene Stealers are so horrible that even the Tyranids don't recognise them as buddies anymore. And they're the main horrors, or the worst horrors you'll find down in Hive Secundus. Well, except of course for the Gene Stealer Patriarch, the Malstrain Patriarch, which is the worst of them all. Unfortunately, we don't have a figure for that. It doesn't really feature in the scenarios except in the last one where you go to the Malstrain throne room, and it doesn't figure in the combat. So yeah, these are nice figures. You can see lots of detail. These will be very easy to paint with contrast paint. This is the perfect subject for contrast paint and some dry brushing. Next up, we've got the Brood Scum, and these are basically Necromundans who lived in Hive Secundus who have been tainted by the virus, and they're your classic sort of, well, your grunts, really, aren't they? They've got a slightly Gene Stealerish look to their faces, but really they're just dudes with basic weapons and pistols and things, and designed to die in their thousands. But, you know, they're nice enough figures. There we go. Bits of slightly spiky armour. Nice distinctive armour, I think. It's got a nice character feel to it. Characterful feel, I should say. Axes, pistols, pretty basic weapons. That guy's got an auto gun there. It's a bit nastier. I like the shouting faces and all that. And, oops, just come off his base there. And a nice line in cricket pad boots, really, don't they? It looks like a cricket pad there. Now, another unusual denizen of the Underhive are these Tyramites, these horrible floating things. Now, I've just got these propped on here, so again, a bit shaky. But basically, they're like giant ticks. These are very, very fragile, these little things. I've had one of these break off already, and I've stuck it back on. I think it was this one here. This long piece broke off. You've got to be really careful when you're taking these bits off the sprue, because the actual model is just as thin as the piece that's connecting it to the sprue. So you've got to be super careful. They're floating mysteriously towards you, and they're pretty horrible, really. There we go. Of course, this will all be glued together when they're painted. Let's move on to the Van Saar, the Secundian incursion gangs. So these are the Van Saars who are going into the Underhive for death and glory and treasures and all that kind of thing. This guy is a gun tech with long las, so sniper weapon there. One problem with some of these is that they have these moulded bases and everything, which look a little bit silly on these bases, because it's just like, as many others have pointed out, it looks like they've just managed to step in the one piece of rubble that's otherwise clean. So you might want to add a bit more extra rubble to that to make it look a bit more realistic when you're basing them, or not bother, whatever you reckon. They've all got these fetching ponytails. This one is an auger tech with a lasgun. Now these were very fiddly to build, I must admit. There are so many tiny pieces in building these figures. You'll have arms like this, which are actually made up of separate forearm and top arm. What do you call it? I don't know. Bicep. I don't know. Yeah, the arms will be broken into two pieces. Really very, very fiddly, tiny, tiny pieces. That little thing you can see around his neck there, the little breathing tube, that's a separate piece. It's, you know, they're very, very fiddly to build. I mean, they have a very nice high-tech look. But I think I'm going to paint these, again, with washes. I saw someone do these in white and they looked really good. So I might actually just wash the white with Seraphim Sepia or something like that. Go for a white look with perhaps some green highlights instead of the green armour that's sort of standard for Van Saar. This guy's got a combi weapon. It's half flamethrower, half man catcher. So, oops. Don't know why you'd want to catch someone after you'd flamed them. I would have thought it would be too late. They've all got these little things on their shoulders as well. And these little collar pieces were separate. Oh, they're so fiddly. So be careful when you make these. It can be a little bit frustrating. This guy's got a rad gun. But they've, you know, got a nice high-tech suit look, don't they? Here's another gun tech with a las gun. Don't know why he's cocking that top piece of a las gun, but anyway. Again, they've all got ponytails. Yeah, the ponytails, the ponytails are a little bit much there, aren't they? The way it comes over the shoulder. It doesn't look as though it's resting there very naturally. Not totally crazy about that, but, you know, that's fun. And this guy is a biotechnist with Servo Medicae. Oh, say that 5 times fast. Basically a doctor. There you go. I mean, why you need this huge arrangement just to stick... I mean, look at the size of this. Will you? Can you imagine sticking this hypodermic into somebody? It would kill them. Maybe that's the idea. There's one of these strange little sort of flying munchkin dudes, a caryatid. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. It's the name of what used to be statues on ancient temples, I think. But, yeah, weird little creature that can fly along and accompany them. Van Saars, I mean. And finally, we've got the probably the feature models of this set, which are the Oris Spire Hunters. There's only 2 of these. I've built up one with power talons and the other one with power fists. This is your power talons, of course. And these are really impressive, lovely, technical-looking battle suits. A lot going on there, a lot of detail. Again, a very fiddly build. All the little pieces are separate. There's back bits and there's shoulder pads and everything. It's quite fiddly, but an impressive model. Here's the one with power fists. Yeah, and they're pretty cool. And these are really the elite of the elite. Though I tell you what, a bit exposed from the back there, aren't they? I mean, you wouldn't want to have someone come up behind you that just sort of, you know, slash your whole body open from there. You know, wonderfully protected from the front. Not so great from the back. Anyway, nice looking models. Well, there you have it, my friends. Hive Secundus, the latest set for Necromunda. It's been a while since I've seen a box set for Necromunda. And this one, I've got mixed thoughts about it. I really do. I just had this general feeling from it that it didn't feel like there was a lot of love in the set. And I think it's something to do with the packaging. And then I thought to myself, well, what was the last set like? The last starter set. And that was, of course, Under Hive. So I've got it over here and I had a little comparison. And the first thing that really jumps out is that this is a really solid, high quality box. So I know I'm going on about the box, but there's something about the impression of quality that I think really makes a difference. So lovely hardcover box. Now the book, I remembered as being hardcover. It wasn't. It's soft cover, and it is actually smaller than this book. So that's something. Perhaps the rules have probably expanded a bit since then, and there's extra campaign material and stuff like that. So, you know, in that case, this book is better. However, then we come to these tiles. And these were, in that set, you had these lovely cardboard tiles, double-sided tiles. And now we've got this flimsy paper mat. So I really don't like paper mats. It's a thing of mine. Don't like playing on them, don't like the feel of them, don't like the crease marks, all that kind of thing. And these were great, these tiles. And, you know, while we're on the subject, let's talk about the utter confusion that is play sizes for Necromunda. So these are the 2 play mats you get in the new set, and they make up an area which is 2 by 3 feet. Now, in the book, when it talks about the Hive Secundus campaign, it suggests a play area of 3 by 3 feet or 4x4 feet, somewhere in between there, but also larger and smaller sizes are okay as well. In other words, it doesn't tell you at all what is the best size for a Necromunda game. And this has been something that's been happening for ages in Necromunda. We don't get a really good recommended size. Now, the general consensus is that 3x3 is a pretty good size. 4x4 is also good, but only if you can pack it full of terrain. The important thing is the density of terrain. But the messaging is so confusing. In our original set, as I said, we got these boards. Now, these boards no longer match the grid on these playmats that they bring out now. It's a slightly different scale. So here I've got the playmat from Dark Uprising, and you'll see that the squares don't match up. This Dark Uprising one is a square, 2x2. Then you've got the Dark Uprising terrain. Now this stuff is lovely. As you can see, I've painted it up and it is really nice, and it fits exactly on the spaces of the new playmat, which is great. The problem is you need a lot of this stuff to fill in all the spaces on 2 playmats. And remember, that's only a 2x3 area. Now, I think I can get away with playing my Necromunda games in this sort of 2D style on a 2x3 area. That's okay, though 3x3 would be better. The thing is, to get enough terrain to fill this whole board would just be crazy. This stuff was really expensive. Dark Uprising set came with a lot of this stuff, and it cost a bomb. And it looks like you need at least 2 of these sets to fill all of the spaces given on these playmats, which is really beyond the budget of almost all gamers. Now I'm going to try and fill in some of this stuff with some handmade bits and bobs and see if I can, fill it in. Because it does look great with all the walls on the playmat. But the impracticality of being able to do that is very, very high. Most people are going to have to play with just grey areas on the board like this. Now they've just brought out another set of terrain for Hive Secundus, which is this sort of half ruined, melted kind of terrain, but it's a very small set, and even with a full set of Dark Uprising stuff and the new set, you're still not going to fit these areas and fill them all up. So Necromunda terrain, it's very confusing messages. We had the tiles, which aren't much good anymore. We've got a 2x2 in here. We've got 3x2 in here. 3x3 is probably the best and good for close combat gangs. 4x4 is better for ranged gangs. It's very confusing. Anyway, back to my wrap-up, where I'm still comparing this new set and the old Necromunda Underhive set. Apart from that, everything's pretty similar. There was one terrain sprue. It's still the same terrain sprue in the new set. These same bits. So nothing's changed there. These figures are lovely, of course. They're very fiddly to build, so keep that in mind. But they have a nice character. So I guess there isn't a huge amount of difference between them, the two sets, except, of course, the tiles and the box quality. I just feel that, just the flimsiness and the paper map just leave me with a bad taste in my mouth. But apart from that, it's a pretty good set. And if you don't want to get into if you can't find the Underhive one, I don't think it's available anymore. This is certainly a good way to get started in Necromunda. Just keep in mind that it is an investment. If you could play with just this set, it could keep you busy for a long time. But if you want to expand further into Hive Secundus stuff, there's another hardcover book. And of course, if you want to get that extra terrain, because you've got very, very little terrain in the set, you have to buy the extra terrain as well. So I've spent a lot of money on Necromunda over the years, and they just sort of continue releasing stuff for it. And sometimes it feels, as I said, there's a lot of stuff stretched over a little bit too much. You think that, obviously it's designed to make money, and they release it in a certain way to maximize the making of money, which that's what businesses do. Anyway, Necromunda, for all its clunkiness these days, it is getting a bit old-fashioned. It's still a really fun game and creates great stories on the tabletop. So I'm looking forward to painting these up, and hopefully, I can get some kind of battle report too. It's been a long while since I did a Necromunda battle report. Thank you very much for watching. This is Peter, and you've been watching the Esoteric Order of Gamers channel. There's 500 or so other videos for you to watch, so get watching. Start watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, hit the all notifications button, and then on your device where you have your YouTube app, make sure that you're registered in your device for receiving notifications. It's complicated, isn't it? And check me out on social media, and of course the website orderofgamers.com, where you'll find hundreds and hundreds of rule summaries and references for your use. I will see you next time. Good gaming and bye for now.